Hello, everyone, and welcome to BodyBags. I'll be your reviewer for today. I'm Lonnie from Tats, and you already know this week we're doing a theme week. We're doing the, kind of like connecting the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise along with the segments from the Never Sleep Again documentary. And this one, we kind of switched up a little bit. I ended up getting, uh, I'm not complaining, but I ended up getting Wes Craven's New Nightmare as opposed to Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, which honestly I actually kind of prefer that because I'm sorry, I like Wes Craven's New Nightmare a lot more than I like Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare. I'm sorry, but it's like to me, it's like next, after the remake, Freddy's Dead is probably the worst movie in the series. That's just my opinion. But anyway, so yeah, from 1994, we are talking about Wes Craven's New Nightmare, and here is the deal. They made Freddy's Dead: The Final Nightmare, and everybody thought that was it. Um, there was no more gold to be mined from the Elm Street franchise, and so Wes Craven got according to the if you watch the bonus features on here, as also the Never Sleep Again documentary. Wes Craven stated that he got a phone call from Bob Shaye and said, "Look, we had some, bad differences between us. I'd like for us to be able to get together and kind of talk, hash everything out, and work out our differences and everything else, and build our friendship back up." And Wes was like, "Okay, so they got together, they sorted out their differences, and got their friendship back, which that's always a great thing when that can happen." And so Bob Shaye said, "We did kill off Freddy, but do you think, it's like here's the thing, do you have any ideas? Is there something you want to do? Because that was one of the things that Wes Craven was upset about was he wanted to have more creative input and everything into the Nightmare franchise, and they kind of took it away from him, and that was one of the things he was upset about, and he wanted to get have more input into the stories and everything because I mean Nightmare on Elm Street is Wes's creation. It was his storyline. He came up with it, so you could kind of understand where he would be coming from. So they told Wes, go ahead and go, make you another movie. Write a good story and everything else. We'll make it and everything. So Wes came up with the idea of doing this film where now just real quick, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but this is something that just kind of really like it really does bug me that I mean I do love this movie, but it really does bug me that this movie didn't end up becoming a hit. Sadly, the movie failed at the box office, but over time, thanks to home video, cable, streaming, things like that. Excuse me. This movie ended up finding its audience, and people look at it as definitely one of the best in the Elm Street series. I know I do. Um, Unfortunately, though, like I said, it was a big theatrical hit. I remember my mother and I going to see it in the theater, so that was cool. Yeah, unfortunately, I never got to see the first movie in the theater. Like in the theater, I saw 3, 4, 5, and New Nightmare. So I saw 4 out of them, but yeah, unfortunately, 1, 2, and well, I'm not that. Sorry, I'm just not that upset that I didn't see Freddy's Dead in the theater. But 3, 4, 5, and 7. So at least I got a good few of them out of it. So, but yeah, like I said though, it does bother me though that this movie didn't end up doing better in the theater because what ended up happening, in my opinion, is that with this story, Wes ended up giving them such a gold mine that they could have continued, maybe not, maybe not with Freddy Krueger, but they could have continued the Elm Street films and do kind of like spin-off films and almost make it like an Elm Street universe, kind of like what the Conjuring universe is doing now. Because when in the story, Wes explains to Heather at one point, he said that the story is about this evil, this entity that is very old. It's existed in different forms, in different times, in different places, and things like this. And it's like, had this movie been successful, that was something that they could have, that's something that they could have worked on. They could have done more movies, and they could have different stories, and this evil entity could take on different forms, and that's the thing, I mean, like, let's face it. I mean, we all love Robert as Freddy. I love Robert as Freddy. Okay, we all do. But here's the thing: Robert can't play Freddy forever, and even if he could, I don't think he would want to. But that was the thing. So it's like we could have left it with, Robert closing out as Freddy, but then they could have moved on and do these kind of like side stories or whatever, and maybe they could have created some new. This evil entity could have taken on some new forms, and maybe it could have, I don't know, like maybe like a evil clown or evil doll or an evil child or something, and we could have built a new. Freddy would have paved the way for these other horror icons, involved in the Elm Street series. And that's one thing that always bothered me was that this movie was not a big hit in that sense. But in this story, this evil entity takes on the form of Freddy Krueger and becomes the real, you know, kind of the real evil, I guess you could say, or the real Freddy, and it decides to go after the people who made the first Nightmare on Elm Street, in particular Heather Langenkamp and her husband and her son Dylan. And it was also interesting to see Dylan, her son, who, sad to say, I feel really bad about this, but in real life, Heather Langenkamp's son did pass away, and that was really sad to hear. But anyway, so her son in the movie was played by Miko Hughes, who we all remember as Gage from Pet Cemetery. So a lot of good things come from this, and it's like one thing that I think was actually really brilliant is that when Wes started writing the story, one of the things that he did was he knew that Heather was being stalked. She had a stalker because this like really like obsessed fan was upset because the franchise was over, and basically he was taking it out on her like it was her fault, and so he was giving her a hard time and stalking her and things like this, and she had to deal with that. um, and the fact that she was willing to let Wes put it in the movie and kind of deal with that. I mean, to me, that's an amazing feat of strength on Heather's part. I mean, let's face it, we all love Heather, which that is one thing though that bugs the ever loving hell out of me is when I watch some of these movie reaction channels on YouTube, and when they watch Nightmare on Elm Street, and they're like, oh my God, Heather Langenkamp is like the worst actress I've ever seen. It's like, no, no, go to hell. Heather Langenkamp is not the worst actress by a long shot. Okay? It's like, no. All right? It's like, you want to see terrible? Watch the remake. I'm sorry, Glenn. I'm sorry, Jason. I know you guys like the remake, but hot damn, man. I mean, come on. Heather Langenkamp is Meryl Streep in this movie compared to Rooney Mara in that remake. Okay, you go watch the interviews and all that kind of stuff. Rooney Mara admits she didn't even try. It's like when you have to sit through that abomination she calls a performance. Like, yeah, Rooney, we can see you really didn't put much effort into it. Okay, it's like, oh, good lord. But anyway, I'm getting off track here. But so anyway, in the story, this evil is stalking Heather and her son and her husband, who is a makeup effects artist, and they're working on the new Freddy movie and everything else. He is murdered, even though in real life her husband was not murdered. But she is like she's realizing that it's not just her, that Robert Englund himself, playing himself in the movie, he's being harassed. Wes Craven, makes an appearance in the movie, and he's talking about like there's something that's driving him to write this script, and he needs to get it out and everything else. And John Saxon is just kind of playing almost the same character he's done in 1 and 3. His character is a skeptic. He doesn't believe what's going on and everything else. So, and I'm not going to go too much more into it because, first of all, Rob's already talked about this movie, and I don't think I'm going to be able to say much more, but basically, Heather has to suit up and become Nancy one more time to defeat this evil, uh, and to save her son because this evil is after her child, and it's after her as well. So she's got to, it's like she's got to be the hero that we always know that Heather is and was, and everything. So yeah, so we got to see her fight with the in this Freddy thing again, So, um, like I said, I went and saw this movie with my mother in the theater, and I loved seeing it. It was a fun time. Um, just but just yeah, that's the only thing that really bothered me was just I thought that would have really just me personally, I think that would have been a great direction to take the Elm Street series is to say, okay, it's like, like I said, like obviously, like, Robert can't play Freddy forever, and uh, like, I mean, yeah, over the years they've been throwing around names of people who could play Freddy. The biggest name that I keep seeing being thrown around is Kevin Bacon, but it's like even now Kevin Bacon is a little too old for that role, and at one point Billy Bob Thornton's name was passed around and everything. Then we got the remake with Jackie Earl Haley. Now, I got to be honest, I will give Jackie Earl Haley a little bit of credit in that, when you watch his performance in the movie, like, he's actually the best thing in the remake. Okay, the remake, I'm sorry, is god awful. To me, it is. But, he does a good job. And, when you see his interviews and stuff, I mean, he at least was like the one person who took it seriously and understood that the love and the fandom that Freddy has, and like he really tried to, he knew he could not outdo Robert, but he at least tried to honor what Robert had done and try to make a worthwhile Freddy. So I will give Jackie Earle Haley the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But like I said, here's the thing: Robert is Freddy. He always was. He always will be. No other actor is ever going to do that. Nobody's going to outshine him. Nobody's going to come close. Excuse me. And I just think that personally, I do remember reading something about Robert Englund that actually tried to work on a script for an Elm Street film that would incorporate what Wes had done, but the idea that this evil entity would become kind of like take on different forms, and and that was the thing, you think about it, you're dealing with movies about dreams, it's like there is so much you could have done with it, so much imagination you could put into it and things like this. I don't know. I mean, right now it's like I think everybody's pretty much, yeah, the Elm Street franchise is dead. There's nothing to go with it. Maybe one day, I don't know, but you know, but I think that just would have been, the best thing to do is just kind of leave off with Robert is Freddy and just say, okay, nobody can outdo him. But, Wes gave us this idea. He gave, he did essentially give us a blueprint for future movies, because now we have this evil thing that could become anything. And we can put so much imagination into the dream sequences and things like this. And just, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But anyway, so yeah, I love the movie, Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Now let's talk about, real quick, let's talk about the documentary. Overall, the documentary for Never Sleep Again is a really, really good documentary. It's a very solid documentary. The one thing I will say, though, that does kind of bug me is I feel like, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I feel like when it came to New Nightmare in that show, it feels like they just tried to like hurry through it. It seemed like when you're talking about all the other, I mean, for a movie that, or a documentary that's over 4 hours long and stuff, it seemed like, talking to they seemed like, boy, they really, really tried to mine every little bit of information that they could get on the other films. And I feel like they just kind of glossed over some of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. Because I mean, it's like when you listen to Wes's commentary, and some of the other bonus features and things like this, it feels a lot more like, that they could have talked about it a little bit more. They could have added a little bit more. I mean, there was the whole thing about they did the funeral scene where they had a large number of the cast and crew from New Nightmare and everything, and you know there was a whole story about Johnny Depp that Wes did not ask Johnny Depp to be a part of the scene because he figured, well, Johnny Depp's a big star now. He wouldn't be interested. He wouldn't want to do it. And then after the movie came out and everything, Johnny came up to him and asked him, hey Wes, I was like, just wondering how come you didn't want me to be in the movie? And he told him, it's like, well, I did want you to be in the movie, but I just figured, you were so busy with other stuff now, you wouldn't want to be part of it. And Johnny told him, was like, hey, it's because of you I'm at where I'm at. You were the director who took a chance on me. It gave me my big break. It's because of you I'm a star. You gave me my first role, so you need me. You let me know. And sad to say, unfortunately, Wes passed. And I don't know about you guys, but just me personally, I think it would have been kind of cool to see Wes and Johnny team up on another movie. And that was the thing. Yeah, I think that was just a mistake on Wes's part because, I mean, come on. If Johnny could come back and do a cameo for Freddy's Dead, I'm certain that he would have come back for Wes on New Nightmare. But it is what it is. But yeah, overall, I do really like the Never Sleep Again documentary. Just like I said, just maybe it's just me, but it just seemed like they kind of glossed over it. It seemed like they could have talked about it a little bit more, maybe a couple more interviews and things like that. But I don't know, it just seemed like they kind of hurried through on that one. But overall, I definitely recommend the documentary, and I definitely recommend Wes Craven's New Nightmare. And the thing, and obviously because of the intelligence and everything that Wes put into his script and everything else, that's what got the Weinsteins to pursue Wes, and basically make his life miserable in his later years, with like the Scream franchise and everything. And that's one of the reasons why I'm not big on the Scream franchise. Was that at first Wes really didn't want to do it, and the Weinsteins kind of basically bullied him into it, and then later movies like Wes was wanting to write and direct the American version of the movie Pulse, based off the Asian film, and they turned around, he was writing the script and everything. They screwed him over on that, and then they made him go do that movie Cursed, and then with Cursed, they ended up making him even more miserable. So, but anyway, so just yeah, a lot of that came from New Nightmare, but yeah, just it's a very well-made film, brilliantly done. And like I said, I just wish that they could have maybe taken that to heart, like use the had the movie succeeded, had it been a hit, but we'll never know. So, but anyway, that's it. I think I've gone on for way too long, so that's going to do it. So if anybody took the time to watch this, I thank you for doing it, and I appreciate you for doing it. I really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, could you please leave it a like? And if you haven't already, go and subscribe to the BodyBags channel. We have a different reviewer, one for every day of the week. I am the Saturday reviewer, and I'm really, I say it all the time, but I'm saying it again. I'm really happy to be a part of this team, and I'm really I'm glad to be here, and I'm happy to be here. So thank you, everybody. Take care. Have a good night, and I'll see you later. Bye.